Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Thorne, and welcome to the Australian Aviation Podcast, the podcast where we talk a little bit aviation and a lot of total nonsense. Joining me to talk most of the nonsense is, as ever, Jake Nelson. Jake, welcome to the show.
Hello, Adam. Some might argue that aviation is nonsense. Those people are wrong.
They are wrong. They are wrong. We usually start the show by doing any kind of shout-outs, etc. New development this week. You appear to be wearing jorts. I think is of a Gen Z people, or denim shorts. Talk me through this fashion choice today. For those people watching on YouTube.
Well, it's hot, Adam.
It's hot, yes.
And so I am wearing shorts where I would normally wear jeans.
Yeah, no. But you know, jorts are very in at the moment. Like that's actually like a big thing that people are wearing for summer. Like the Gen Z people, the young people.
You know, I used to rock double denim back when I was in uni. Oh
Really?
yes, I had I would wear jeans and a denim jacket.
Yeah.
Very 80s. And it was because my dad advised me that I should try to coordinate my fashion choices. And so denim on denim is what I tended to go with.
Yeah.
And one time, I don't remember what it was called, some uni event, but the theme that year was double denim. It was like Village Fair 2011 or something at the uni. And so I remember someone, I was walking across the quad and someone yelled at me, double denim VF11 to try and promote the event.
Yeah.
But I was a fashionista.
Really? No.
If you can define double denim as fashionista-ism, that menswear guy on Twitter
definitely.
and on Twitter and that menswear guy on the internet, if anyone's familiar with him, he would have roasted me alive.
Yeah, he needs to spend he spends way too much money on clothes. You gotta spend money on other things. Right, let's do the shout. We got any shout outs? We got any?
Yes, we've had some feedback.
Is it good feedback?
Yeah, we've had some feedback from a friend of the show, Andrew, who has said, "Hi Jake, P.S. Love the podcasts." Thank you, Andrew. He says, just my 2 cents on why Rex received the $80 million extension. Firstly, I think it's fantastic that all the employees' entitlements are covered. I want to be clear that I'm not speaking against that at all. But why did they get $80 million all the way to June? It's purely political. The government had two options: bail them out, bad press; let them fail, bad press. So they went with option 3. Kick the can far enough down the road that the problem goes past the election. This way, the issue either becomes the Liberal government's problem if they win, or it stays with the current government. By then, they can let Rex fail because it will be early enough in the new term that it's forgotten by the next election. This is why we're in a peculiar situation where the administrator is now operating an airline purely to stay in power. It's very sad that the state of regional aviation comes down to when the election is held, and the government's motto of problem deferred is a problem solved. Now we have $80 million of taxpayers' money wasted on extending the inevitable.
That's quite a good point, because we were asking, why would the administration be delayed for that or be extended for that long? Will we appear to be in a holding pattern? He does make a very, very good point. I think an awful lot of things are that you don't make a decision immediately. You do kick it into the long grass and then, shoot it later on. But no, that makes a very good point. No, thank you for your contribution. Also, weirdly, usually we usually just get abuse or occasionally nice words. We've actually got somebody get in touch to say are making a kind of an intelligent point.
Yeah. We've had a couple of very, very meaty points and feedback in recent weeks. We also have received, very exciting, some new merchandise to put up around here. Now, this is from the Aviation Travel Shop. The Aviation Travel Shop. Thank you, Jordan the Great, who has confirmed that off camera. And this is actually quite interesting.
Hello.
So these are tags or like key rings that are made from the skin of a Boeing 727. You can hear.
Have you never seen these before?
Yeah, no, I've seen them around.
Yeah. Which ones have we got?
So these are all from the same aircraft, and I'm just for the ASMR people on YouTube. Here's
that's weird, isn't it?
Bit of clinking into the mic.
Done.
But these are all from the same Boeing 727. It is from VHTBS. Now, according to these tags, we've got 3 of them. They all came from the skin of the plane. So there's one white one, one red one, and one yellow one. And there were 235 of these that were stamped out. But this one entered service on 31st of October 1969, originally registered to Ansett as VHRMS. It operated in a 98-seat passenger configuration during the day and an all-cargo configuration at night. VHRMS was the Ansett aircraft which flew ABBA around Australia as part of their 1977 Australian
That's great
tour.
trivia.
That's fantastic.
Are you not going to make a pun at this point? This is usually where you would jump in with a pun. I don't want to interrupt you there, but now you're desperately thinking of
maybe
ABBA
I'll
songs.
give you a pun after midnight. Now, following its withdrawal from Ansett service in January 1990, the aircraft was operated by various airlines. Some of the more notable include Air Nauru, Trans-Australia Airlines, Qantas, Australian Cargo, DHL, Australian Air Express, Trans-Australian Airlines again, and Aviation Australia. During this period, the aircraft registration changed numerous times, ending as VHTBS. VHTBS was utilised by Aviation Australia as a training aid for apprentice aircraft maintenance engineers from 2004 until its eventual scrapping in November 2021. And so these tags have been stamped out from the skin of this 727. And that's some really nice little...
So I say what we do is we can put one of them on the shelving unit. We could probably take one each just to put on our kit, because I've got my key rings here.
Yeah,
like it's very small and very easy to lose these. But if you've got a bit of skin there, what colours have we got?
So we've got yellow, white, and red.
Oh right, which is your favourite? Which one do you want?
Well, how about we sort this out after the show?
No, we've got to do it now. Because we need to know which one's going to go on the shelving
well,
unit.
How about we put these on the shelving unit together for now, and we can
right,
sort
I think
it out
we're having a
after the
row.
show.
This is really unprofessional.
So we'll put all these here.
Are they not going to fall down? All right.
No, they look.
Okay.
If they fall down, then they will be on the floor.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Go on. No, thank you so much.
Yes,
for
thank
the,
you to the aviation travel shop for these. There's these from the Oz tags. These are genuine artifacts from the skin of an actual aircraft. You can get all sorts of aircraft tags, including from A380s and 747s and other scrapped aircraft that have.
Lovely.
You don't expect them to be as thick as they are. The metal, you kind of. It's weird that you don't expect an aircraft skin to be as thick as it is, but it is. These are pretty thick.
No, good. No, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. We got any other shout outs? Any? Are we gonna?
No further shout outs that I can think of, Adam. Let me just check our other comments here. We've spoken last week about our friend Fergus's comment on travel upgrades. So I don't believe we have any other shout outs this week. It's
we do. Actually, we do.
We do have a shout out.
because so everybody. Obviously, you're a huge fan of Elon Musk, but some people aren't. And these people, these simple people, have been leaving Twitter or X, whatever it's called, and they've been going to something called Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
But we were like an early adopter of Blue Sky, and our hits, followers, whatever users, they're soaring, aren't they?
Yeah, we talked a bit about this last week, but we've now hit more than 350 followers on Blue Sky.
And what's our handle or whatever it's called?
So our username on Blue Sky is the same as our web address, because we've done some very clever jiggery pokery that Blue Sky enables to allow that to happen. It's just at australianaviation.com.au. Come follow us on Blue Sky, be our 351st follower.
I would say of all the social media platforms, probably the one that we should like the most is Blue Sky.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
obvious reasons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's thematically appropriate.
Yeah. And we're on the other one, aren't we? Was it Threads as well?
Threads, yeah, that's
Threads,
the Facebook one.
Yeah.
Or the Meta one, I should say.
The Meta one, right.
And we're also on X, the Everything app.
Your favourite?
Yeah, sure.
Right, we're on all the social media, whatever. Right, let's talk about the news. Jay, what are we talking about first?
Well, first we should probably we can have a little chat about the situation in Darwin. Now, ABC Stateline this week reported that interstate return airfares to and from Darwin can cost up to $1,500, which is a lot. Customers have said that they've seen high prices even when booking like 6 months out, because we know, and various people close to the program will probably know, that if you book a flight last minute, the flight's going to cost a lot of money. But if you book further out in advance, as opposed to booking the day before, certain people close to the show, the flight is going to cost less. And so 6 months out, these customers trying to get to or from Darwin are still seeing high airfares. Now, both major airfares have denied that they are gouging passengers. So Qantas says... this is due to a number of factors, including the relatively small population in the NT, the distance from other Australian capitals, the seasonality, seasonal airfares, etc., seasonal demand, what have you. Qantas Group says average airfares will be comparatively higher. This also makes scheduling challenging because there have been complaints about, odd schedules, flights in the middle of the night. Qantas says that they do have daily daytime flights from Darwin to all the major capitals except Melbourne and Canberra. Qantas says, despite that, we're doing what we can to support the top end through bringing on additional capacity, launching new services, and introducing new aircraft. Now, Virgin, on the other hand, has pointed the finger pretty squarely at Airport Development Group, or ADG, which is the operator of Darwin Airport, the airfield being owned by the RAF. And they had been warned, ADG, by the former NT government, the old Labor NT government, earlier this year about excessive charges. They're planning to hike their fees again. And so Virgin is saying that, Darwin Airport's plans, this is a quote, to double passenger charges over the next 3 years will continue to put pressure on airfares and will not incentivize airlines to grow services to Darwin. We expect the airport to be operated in an efficient and cost-effective manner and that the level of capital spend is appropriate and optimized to customer demand. Virgin says, while we are laser-focused on delivering the best possible value to our customers, it is increasingly difficult to prevent the high cost of operating at Darwin Airport from being felt by travellers. So basically, both Qantas and Virgin are saying, ain't us, gov.
No.
It's either factors outside of our control or it's Darwin Airport what done it.
It's never their fault, though, is it? I mean, maybe it isn't their fault in this circumstance, but in reality, it is the airlines that are actually setting the price.
Yeah, and ADG... did tell the ABC, a lot of initialisms in this particular story. The Executive General Manager, or EDM, so the EDM of ADG told the ABC that there is a level of of acceptance from airlines that's the cost of flying to the NT. He said, we need these fees to pay for upgrades to the runways, to the infrastructure. He says, I don't see our charges having any impact on the prices that are being charged. In some instances, the cost of doing business up here and the reasons for travel, I could make it free on some occasions and the airlines still wouldn't come. So it's a bit of an odd situation up in Darwin. I mean, in general, it's an odd situation up in Darwin.
You can't know. You've already written off the Gold Coast.
Have you read the NT News, Adam?
Yeah, and it's legendary because that's the one that has all the absolutely crazy front pages and crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So in general, it's an odd situation in Darwin.
Right, okay.
But I mean, it seems to me that there's probably opportunities if we need those prices to come down. There may be opportunities for other airlines, such as, for example, Air North. Air North is based out of Darwin. They fly E170s, E90s, E-jets in general. They might consider, fleet expansion, leasing a few more E-jets, getting some flights out of Darwin to some more of these destinations that the E-jets can reach.
So basically, is what we talk about a lot, competition is a good thing. And if you let Qantas and Virgin kind of get on with it, then there is a danger that they won't feel particularly threatened and that the prices will spiral up. Qantas
and Virgin, by the way, have said that they are looking to expand their flights out of Darwin. So we will see how that goes. But, if Air North plays its cards right, could become a bigger name in the top end.
Yeah.
Top end, by the way, I believe is actually their call sign.
Oh, nice. Right, what's next?
Speaking of Qantas and Virgin, and speaking of the major airlines, I think it is probably time to discuss this month's coveted Huey Award.
Hang on. Whoa. We're going to have to go for a break before we do that.
You sure?
This is what pros do. They like have a tidbit, like a cliffhanger of something massive to come, and then they go to a break, and then they come back. They used to do it on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Do you remember? I don't know if
I know. I do remember Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah, and you set your final answer. And then like Chris Tarrant or whoever you had in Australia.
We had Eddie Maguire.
Whatever. Yeah, and basically he'll be like, the answer is after the break. Welcome back. Right before the break, in a masterful link, Jake was about to introduce the winner of this month's Huey Award. Still a relatively new phenomenon in the circuit is Australian aviation. Before you get into that, talk us through what the Huey Award is, why it's called the Huey Award, for those people that don't know.
So, Adam, we were discussing Bitra data sometime, I don't know, months and months ago.
This is on-time performance.
Yeah, on-time
basically.
performance, reliability, and so forth. And you know, I was going through all the facts and figures, and you said, why don't you just come up with, you know, the award for the most reliable airline for the month? Cut through all the facts and figures. And so I've been doing that based on this data on reliability. And a couple of months ago, we finally hit on a proper name, the Huey Award, based, of course, on Huey Lewis and the News, because it's going to the airline that is most likely to get you back in time.
Yes.
So the Huey Award, very, very prestigious award, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. It is an actual award to which we have taped a picture of Huey Lewis.
Yes.
Which
you say we? I had nothing to do with this. Phil and Alex, if you're watching, like I was working really hard all day. That's on him. That's work time. Like, you know.
To which we, the royal we, collectively have taped a picture of Huey Lewis. So before we reveal the Huey Award winner, let's build up the suspense a bit more. So in this month's Bitra data, we had a bit of an interesting phenomenon and a bit of a peek behind the curtain at why some things happen. So top line, on-time performance, on-time arrivals, on-time departures, Qantas came out on top of Virgin Australia, but its cancellation rate was 3 times higher than that of Virgin. So 74.7% of Qantas and Qantas Link services arrived on time in October, 75.4% departed on time. Now, this is compared to 70.9% on-time arrivals and 71% on-time departures for the Virgin Australia network. So that was the on-time performance. However, in terms of cancellations, Virgin had the lowest overall cancellation rate for the month at 0.8%.
Oh, that's very good.
That's very good. That's very good.
That's actually one of the best we've seen, I think.
And I would give them more credit. Were I not on one of those cancelled flights and forced to wait 2 days?
Whoa there. Whoa.
So Virgin, I credit you for that, but I would give you more credit had I not been among those 0.8.
This is a twist we've never seen before.
But yes, the Qantas network cancelled 2.8% of flights. Note this is Qantas and Qantas Link, not Jetstar. Jetstar actually did reasonably well. It had a 1% cancellation rate. 71.3% departed as scheduled. And 73.2% arrived on time. So the on-time departures for Jetstar are actually equal to Virgin. What is interesting, Adam, is the explanation that we kind of got for this from Virgin. So sort of on we found out that Virgin prioritizes completing a flight rather than cancelling it if a service is disrupted. So basically, if at all possible, and I understand that it may not have been possible for us, but if at all possible, Virgin chooses to delay a flight that is experiencing disruption rather than cancel it and put you on the next one.
Yeah.
You know, Virgin's kind of gambling. You would rather be delayed than go through the hassle of a cancellation.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, you know, this results in high delays, it results in lower on-time performance, but it's a better outcome for passengers than cancelling services on the day of travel.
Yeah.
So that is the explanation from Qantas and from Virgin on why their on-time performance is lower, but so are their cancellations, which I think makes sense, Adam.
It does make sense. It does make sense. So we've heard the explanation. Before we present the new Huey Award, who is the currently reigning champion?
So the currently reigning champion was from last month was Qantas and Qantas Link combined. The Qantas network.
The Qantas network combined. We are now on the Huey Award for the month of October.
Yep.
And the winner is, go on.
So Adam, it is a joint award this year.
You got a joint?
It is a joint award.
There's only 2 major airlines in the country. You can have a joint
Who
award.
said, Adam, that it's going to major airlines?
Oh, hang on a minute. Come on.
Because a very important point was raised with us last month.
Go on.
And
Yes.
and there are figures that I have not discussed.
Wow.
These are the figures from the regional airlines. Of the regional airlines, Hinterland Aviation and Skytrans both outstripped Rex for the month. 95.5% of Skytrans flights arrived on time, 93.2% of Hinterland flights compared to 76% of Rex flights. Equal for on-time departures between Skytrans and Hinterland, 95.4%. Rex only cancelled 1.1% of flights, however, compared to 1.3% for Hinterland and 6.3% for Skytrans. So not a great completion rate for Skytrans, but good on-time performance. And a very important point was raised, Adam, that by focusing on the major airlines, we're not getting the whole picture.
No, yes.
We are not getting the whole picture. So this may just be a one-off thing.
Yes.
But
go
I
on.
think Qantas and Virgin have had it too good for too long, Adam. They have gotten complacent. And so this month, the Huey Award for the most reliable airline is a joint splitting the difference between Hinterland Aviation and Skytrans.
So we actually rip off the old
I did.
one.
I've pulled the old winner off. Skytrans and Hinterland Aviation win the joint winners of the Huey Award for most reliable airlines in the month of October 2024.
No, congratulations to you. I'm sure the culmination of a lifetimes of hard work.
Yes, I made the decision because Skytrans had slightly better on-time performance, but Hinterland had better cancellation rates, so I split the difference.
No, it's really nice to see. And certainly, obviously, the Huey Award was previously called the Jake Nelson Award for Airline of the Month. It's good to see this is the first time now we are embracing smaller airlines. So, no, I think this is a positive step. Positive step. Congratulations to all involved.
Yes, congratulations to our Huey Award winners, and let this be a message to the Qantas Group and Virgin Australia: step up your game.
Right, what are we talking about next?
What we are talking about next is, let's talk about passenger capacity. We had some analysis this month released by OAG, which is an aviation analyst, and it's found that overall Australia's aviation sector, in terms of passenger capacity, is still below pre-COVID levels. This is despite continued growth over the past few years. So, of the biggest 20 aviation markets, 10 of them are yet to reach 2019 levels of seat capacity. Australia is still 2.7% below 2019, even as we grew by 4% compared to 2023. We're also in the Southwest Pacific region, according to OAG and I believe IATA, which is where they get it from. Southwest Pacific region is one of 4 that has effectively stagnated, and it remains below 2019. We are down 4.5% still on pre-COVID levels. However, it is the region that have seen the best recovery out of the 4 that are still below it. So Eastern Europe is down 8.6%, Southeast Asia down 13.1%, and Southern Africa down 17%.
So the traditional argument as to why we are still stagnating is that where we are failing to hit our 2019 numbers is kind of business travel, which is generally down. And that is obviously because we live in a world of Zoom, which can obviously take away a lot of those meetings. And Australia is kind of uniquely hit by this as a continent country. Obviously, that's going to hit us a little bit harder. Nonetheless, though, it's still extraordinary that we are now 5 years after COVID and we are seeing domestic travel in particular still down. Now, we don't know, are we ever going to get back to 2019 figures? Certainly, some people in the industry would say that actually this is a different world now. It's almost unfair to compare it. But it's still 5 years on to see those numbers still down just feels absolutely extraordinary.
So according to John Grant, who's the chief analyst at OAG, in the Southwest Pacific, there have been modest capacity cuts versus 2019 from a range of airlines. This includes Qantas, Air New Zealand, Virgin. Some of these are related to supply and maintenance. And we have seen Air New Zealand, by the way, this week in its half-yearly earnings guidance, basically come out and say that these headaches that it's having with its fleet, with these, A320neos and the 787 Dreamliners that have been sort of out of commission or out of service due to maintenance issues, they're not expecting that to get better until 2026. And so it's, these capacity cuts keep drawing back growth in capacity. Another factor is China. So China itself, in terms of passenger capacity, has grown by 10% since the pandemic. But this is from domestic capacity. So flights within China have grown about 15%. International capacity is down 26%. There's bilateral restrictions. There's, economic challenges, et cetera, in China that's affecting this. And Grant says, quote, the reductions in international capacity are clearly being felt in traditional overseas markets. Japan, South Korea, Thailand, and to a lesser degree, Australia, all remain with negative capacity versus 2019. And the Chinese market is the primary factor in those lost seats. So China has been... we have seen some recovery from China, but it's not, I suppose, where we've been hoping it to be.
And also the China example was a bit different in that China was dealing with COVID a lot longer than everybody else. I mean, the restrictions just from flying to Australia to China were only lifted like 2 years ago now. So that's a kind of a different model. But yeah, it is bizarre. We're 5 years on. We're still somehow dealing with the effects of COVID. And obviously a lot of this stuff as well wraps in with this kind of cost of living crisis. I mean, I think I read in, I don't know if it was the Sydney Morning Herald or the AFR this week, that kind of relatively Australia's cost of living crisis is one of the worst in the world, which would obviously have a huge knock-on effect on flying as well. Okay, welcome back. So... Jay, what are we talking about next?
We spoke a bit about cost of living before the break, and of course, one of the big things for cost of living potentially coming up in the near future is this tie-up with Virgin Australia and Qatar Airways. Qatar. And so this deal with Qatar, there has been concern from the unions that, as part of this whole thing, for some background, Qatar wants to take a 25% stake in Virgin, and they also want to wet lease some of their planes, 777s, we believe, to Virgin Australia for Virgin to operate flights to Doha under the Virgin banner. So effectively, it would be Qatar operating these flights, but Virgin is selling them under its own name, and so they would be counted as flights from an Australian airline, getting around some of these restrictions that have been imposed. The unions have been concerned that this would be bad for Australian jobs because it would be Qatari crews operating the flights. But at the Airports Association conference in Brisbane, Jane Hrdlicka, the CEO of Virgin Australia, has said that Virgin pilots and cabin crew would likely be basically seconded to these flights. And so pilots and cabin crew would be able to go to Qatar to learn the A350, to learn the 777. And she said we'd have to backfill for all those people. So if 40 pilots go to Qatar for 12 or 18 months, we would need 40 more pilots in Australia. The same goes for cabin crew. She said, quote, if I was in my mid-20s and cabin crew, I would be all over it, travel the world and have a really fun, different experience. And you know your job is secure when you come home. For those two work groups, it's great.
Hang on a minute, let's just step it back. So is she effectively saying that there will be Virgin staff doing this in time? Is that kind of what she's suggesting?
Yeah, I mean, what she's suggesting is that, there would probably be Virgin staff who would be sent to Qatar Airways, possibly to operate these flights, possibly to learn on other Qatar flights, and that they need to fill these positions at home. So there would be more jobs open. Yeah. And she said, by the way, that Virgin getting its own long-haul international services would be at least 6 or 7 years away. Now, Terry O'Toole, the National Secretary of the Flight Attendants Association, she is still skeptical. She said that she's concerned about paying conditions for Virgin workers on these Qatar flights. She said Qatar pays its crew about $26 an hour, which is well below what flight attendants in Australia are paid. Quote, then there is the matter of Qatari law. I would not want to send my daughter to Doha for a year, and there are inherent dangers for any gay cabin crew in a country where homosexuality is a crime. She also said that Qantas staff could see a disadvantage. Quote, this open-ended wet lease arrangement would make it harder for Qantas to compete on the international stage because they can't afford to operate at a loss, and we are concerned that it would push up Qantas to strike up a similar arrangement with the Emirates, which would be disastrous for employees. Now, Virgin Australia has said this would not be an open-ended thing. The initial time frame intended would be 5 years to see how well it would work if we wanted to keep doing it.
I think it's very unlikely that we would have seen a similar deal between, say, Emirates and Qantas, because if that was going to happen, it would have happened by now. Also, I think it's very unlikely, given that Qantas are investing in a lot of new international aircraft. So I think Virgin was in a very unique situation in that it came out of COVID, or it came out of administration, and basically decided it was going to be a 737 only airline, pretty much. So getting back into the long-haul game was going to be very difficult, particularly seeing as just getting hold of long-haul aircraft now is very, very difficult. So I do see why there would be a little bit of kickback, but at the same time, it doesn't feel that there's that much kickback against this. Like, they aren't taking Australian jobs. These jobs weren't there before. I think it's a very different thing.
It is, yeah, and it'll it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out and whether these jobs promised by Virgin will materialize. But again, the main sort of selling point for this deal from Qatar and Virgin has said this will lower international airfares. If we can get these flights going, if we can get more services going to Doha and then onward to Europe, it will bring down the cost of going to the Middle East, to going to Africa, going to Europe, as opposed to the current situation where there's fewer flights and thus fewer flights, less supply and high demand, and so the prices go up.
The idea that as a country, we are a country of 25, 26, 27 million people, we only had one airline that's able to fly long haul. And I know technically there was kind of one-off Virgin flights, but basically we have one carrier. That is not a sustainable situation for the country. It makes a lot more sense that we've got access to two. So,
yeah, and I mean, if you look at the US, they've got, Delta, they've got United, and American. Does Britain have anything besides British Airways, or is it?
And Virgin Atlantic.
British Airways and Virgin Atlantic over in the UK. So they've got two. I mean, Air New Zealand is basically the only option for New Zealand, but New Zealand is a lot smaller of a country. But you've got Japan, they've got JAL and ANA. Yeah, it's a sorry situation if you're wanting to fly long haul and want to fly on an Australian carrier, because you've only got Qantas. Not that there's anything wrong with Qantas, but it's good to have some choice.
Absolutely. Right, we've probably got time for one more story.
Yeah, well, this is a bit of a technical one, Adam, but it's one that might be good news for electric aircraft, which we spoke about last week. So there's been this research team at Monash University has developed a new battery technology, which they say could have applications for electric aircraft. So this is a lithium-sulfur battery as opposed to lithium-ion, which is the main sort of rechargeable battery you see around nowadays. And it says that this battery is ultra-fast charging. It can power things like long-haul electric vehicles, so you could get 1,000 kilometers on a single charge in your electric car. It could power commercial drones. It could also power things like eVTOL aircraft, electric vertical takeoff and landing. Basically, what they're saying is this lithium-sulfur battery is cheaper than lithium ion, and it's more energy dense, so it can hold more energy and thus could potentially be smaller and lighter.
And is it USB?
No. I mean, you possibly could put lithium sulfur batteries into power packs. Yeah. But the problem with lithium sulfur batteries to date is that they're chemically complex, and that it takes longer to charge and discharge the battery. So it's kind of been impractical for commercial applications. But these researchers at Monash, they found this catalyst that they say is inspired by, of all things, betadine, that home antiseptic that you might put on your paper cuts or your zits or whatever. And this new catalyst has basically accelerated this charging and discharging rate. So it's, comparable to or better than lithium ion. And so if they can make this at scale, then suddenly lithium sulfur batteries become a better option for powering all these things that you would currently power with a lithium ion battery.
So it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
and it's just like a simple innovation that has a potential to make a big difference.
Yeah. So it's safer, it's more efficient, says the Professor Mainak Majumdar, who is the co-lead researcher on the paper. He says it's more efficient, it's more safe. charging speed was one of the last remaining barriers to commercialization on these batteries. He says, our catalyst has significantly enhanced the C rate of performance of lithium sulfur batteries, C rate being the charge-discharge rate, demonstrated in these early proof of concept prototypes. This technology could deliver energy densities up to 400 watt-hours per kilogram. He says this makes it well-suited for applications requiring dynamic performance, such as aviation, where batteries must handle high C rates during takeoff and efficiently switch to low C rates during cruising. So basically, you want your battery to be pumping out a lot of power while you're taking off, and then not using a lot of power while you're in the air. He also says lithium-sulfur batteries are a greener alternative to the materials used in traditional lithium-ion batteries, which rely on limited and often environmentally harmful resources like cobalt. And so this opens up new possibilities for electric aircraft, which, up until now have been looking at lithium-ion batteries or hydrogen fuel cells. And if lithium-sulfur batteries become a big thing in a big way, they could be another alternative.
And the reason this is so important is that these electric aircraft have a potential to completely change the game for regional Australia and for remote locations. We're probably not going to see in the next 20, 30 years, genuinely long-range flights via a battery-powered aircraft, but those shorter hops are very much possible in the next kind of 10 years or so. But it's interesting we're seeing advances with the kind of the fuselages, with the material, and we're also seeing these big advantages as well with the battery, which is going to make a very big difference. Yeah,
so we've got AMSL Aero. I believe we spoke about them last week. They did their first sort of untethered battery-powered flight in their Vertier, which is like this eVTOL that can fly long distances, useful for aeromedical, useful for small passenger flights. Dovetail is of course looking to retrofit electric powertrains onto aircraft. I don't know if the Rex administration has sort of put on hold the plans to put electric aircraft in service for Rex, but that's what Dovetail's been trying to do. Stralis up in Queensland has been looking to power flights for, I think, Skytrans. And so, if these take off, it could, really slash the carbon footprint of the aviation sector, particularly in regional Australia.
No, that's some good news. Good news to finish the show. Have you got anything else you want to say? Because otherwise I'm going to end the show and you're going to jump in and go one more thing.
No, that's better.
No. You sure?
Yeah.
All right. Right, well, sure.
I'll go on.
What, go on, you want to do one more?
No, go. No, it's you need to end the show.
I do need to end the show.
We're busy people.
We've talked more nonsense than usual this week, but we will actually need to thank you. Good. What do I usually say? Thank you to my co-host, Jake Nelson.
There we go. You remembered. Thank you, Adam.
And thank you very much for listening. We will be back on this show next week to talk more drivel. But for now, for me and Jake, goodbye.
Goodbye.